I have a koan for you. It's me. It's my Versace suit. It's the ancient world of Japan, Tibet, and the Orient. What do these two things have in common? On the surface, nothing. A koan is a meditative device that we use to expand our awareness field. The idea is quite simple. There are two things that seem like they have nothing to do with each other. But if we contemplate them long enough, if we find an interrelationship, we go to a new level of mind, a new level of understanding. And that level of understanding will not just reflect in that situation, but in all parts of our lives. So, I am your koan. Today I would like to talk to you about meditation. Meditation is the ancient science of stilling the mind, making the mind absolutely quiet and still like a lake without ripples. Let's face it, most people are not very happy. We all smile, we do our best with life, we put our best foot forward. But in reality, most people aren't very happy. And the reason is really simple. They're not in touch with their inner self. They're not in touch with the ocean of light, peace, and ecstasy and perfection that in Buddhism we call Nirvana. In Taoism they call the Tao. In Hinduism they call Brahman or the Atman. In the West we call it God. Some people call it nature. Call it what you will. There is a force, there is an energy, there's something perfect about this thing we call life. And we're very close to it. The funniest thing, happiness comes, in most cases, from inside our mind. You can be in a luxurious setting, you can be in an impoverished setting, you can be in a middle-class setting, but if you're not happy inside your mind, you're not happy at all. So they directed their attention, ancient seers in the Far East, to the mind. They said, before we go out and do everything we can do in life, let's learn about the mind. Let's discover its potential. Let's develop it. Let's see what we can do. It's like giving that kid who's going to college for the first time a class in how to take tests, how to learn a foreign language, how to select a good professor, how to be inspired. What do you do when you have a depressing day and your boyfriend or girlfriend breaks up with you and you've still got to write that great paper and get that A to succeed in a competitive society? So in the Far East they did something similar. They researched the mind and they found out that the mind is a very wonderful, beautiful, complicated thing. And the major problem that people have, the part of the mind that they don't get to, the beautiful part, is beyond thought. The mind is something that's always in motion. Sit by yourself for a moment. Think. Try not to think. You'll notice you're always thinking something. You're worried about tomorrow, paying the bills, seeing somebody you'd like to see, remembering something that happened in the past, feeling guilty, feeling expectation. You know your feelings and your thoughts. On the other side of feeling and thoughts is something else, not nothingness, everythingness. So they devoted their time and energy in the Far East to developing techniques, which I'm going to teach you today, techniques that will enable you to make your mind quiet, to make your mind like a lake without any ripples, absolutely still. Because when there are ripples in the lake, you can't see anything but the surface. But you know, when those ripples stop and everything calms down, you can see into the depths of the lake. I would like to teach you to look into the depths of yourself, and I'm afraid you're going to be shocked. You're going to find out that you're much more beautiful than you realize, that this thing we call life is much more fantastic than you can imagine, and that you can be happy even in the most adverse circumstances if you can do this one thing. Learn to make your mind quiet, still your thoughts, because then it's as if a curtain opens, and behind that curtain is light, ecstasy, perfection, beauty, and reality. There's nothing to be afraid of. There's only life, and we all live forever. And happiness doesn't come from getting everything that we want. Happiness doesn't come from having everything work out, because things don't work out, or they work out and then they change again. Happiness comes from being able to step out of our mental agenda, from saying that, wait a minute, the universe has another agenda, and I'm going to use it. I'm going to, like the actor who, when that glass is dropped that was supposed to be handed to him, turns it into something funny, uses it in some way to create a moment, since it's unavoidable, that might be interesting in the play. And then someone has to respond to that. So you need to learn to react to unexpected, adverse circumstances in a new way. And that's by getting off your agenda and saying, wait a minute, stop the camera, hold it. At this time, things aren't going to work out this way. The taxi hasn't come. I missed the plane. There's nothing I can do about it. And all my prepaid tickets are lost. And the vacation is ruined. No, the vacation isn't ruined. The vacation has just begun. Because you can take the situation and the time of your life that you have right now and make it better than it's ever been. If you'll simply unplug from trying to force life to be the way you feel it should be. We have to be able to step out of our agenda. This is the most important thing. When we step out of our agenda, we step into the universe's agenda. This is something I personally learned in the Far East, studying yoga. I studied yoga for many years. And one of the things that I learned from yoga, I think the most important thing that I'd like to pass on to you today, is that the universe has its own will. The universe and life has its own flow. And we try the very best that we can to be in harmony with life. But to try and create too much order, to try and imprint everything in life with our view and our will, to try and resolutely make everything work out to perfection, creates unhappiness. To just be overwhelmed by circumstances isn't necessarily the right way to react either. The right way to react to life's realistic situations and circumstances is with a positive attitude and to realize that we can accept so much. We can accept the death of our loved ones. We can accept our own inevitable death. We can accept the happiness that every new day can bring. As human beings, we're capable of accepting so much. We're so very strong if we draw on that inner strength. But we exhaust that strength by always demanding that life conform to our expectations. On the other hand, when we stop demanding that life conform to our expectations, when we use it, when we take the moments that are unexpected, what you would call the tragedies of life, which of course hurt, but we don't let them destroy us. We find a new strength from them, we find a new resolution, we find something new and interesting about the life process from these experiences, then, at that moment, you'll find that you'll relax. In other words, stress mainly is caused by our reaction. And the meditation techniques are fantastic for giving you the ability I'm discussing now. They give you the space, the power through visual association to relax and to stand back from your own agenda. That's why they work so well. But what's most important from my point of view in dealing with stressful situations, and my life is filled with them, as I'm sure is yours, is an inner understanding about what life is. And I think we're not given that by our society and by the world. What we're given is a sense that everything is supposed to work out the way we think. Every day is supposed to go as planned, and I don't know who thought this up, but it's the most stressful preset condition I can imagine. Instead of realizing that every day we're going to go out and do our best to accomplish what we seek, but there are going to be many setbacks, there are going to be many mislaid items in life. And that we can take each one of those as something to upset us or something to say, well, okay, we're going over here now, life is taking me in a new direction, and we can use that experience. We can use the experience to experience life in a more deep way. A lot of the stress that we experience is simply because the earth is so crowded. So we go to Hawaii, we go to the desert, we go to places like that, and you can just do this with me or on your own, and we find a quiet place where the energies of the earth help us. The key, the power of the earth, will actually help us enter into a meditative state. It's very easy to quiet the mind. At that point, then, when you go to the city, when you are back in your apartment, in your condo, or in your house, or wherever it may be, you'll find that it's really much easier to regain that state. If you went to Hawaii, if you went to the desert, if you went out into nature, into the forest, and you meditated, and you found it was easy to do there, now you know what to do. Now when you go back and you return to our urban metro world, it's really not that difficult to recapture that state. Think of it this way. I don't know if you play the piano at all, but when you play the piano, of course, the most important thing, you have to start with a piano that is in tune. The piano, all the keys resonate at the proper octaves and frequencies. So the first thing that we do is we get a tuning fork, or we have somebody come over who tunes pianos, and they find middle C. Once they tune that, then they can tune the rest. Well, learning meditation is very much like that. Essentially what we want to do is we want to learn what stillness is like, what it's like to have an empty mind, what it's like to feel good again. I mean, there's so many things bombarding us, our minds, our bodies, noise, pollution, demands, traffic, relationships. We've forgotten, I think almost as a race, what it feels like just to feel relaxed, to feel at peace, to feel tranquil, just to feel good about ourselves and daily living. So we go to Hawaii, we go to the desert, we go to the forest for short periods of time, and of course it's naturally beautiful, to find the pulse of nature, to still ourselves down, to relax, to gain our poise and our balance, to feel that rhythm of life. Life is good. Sit, focus here for 5 minutes. When thoughts come in and out of your mind, ignore them. Don't fight with your thoughts, because that's more thought. Just ignore it. And you'll find over a period of time, as you focus more and more on your navel center, your chest center, and your third eye, that you'll have less thought. Don't fight with your thought. Instead, focus. And as your focus becomes more intense and you release more energy, you'll notice the most incredible thing. You'll notice that you will start to lift up into a higher state of mind in which there's no thought. Go with the energy, not against it. Don't try and swim upstream. Go with the stream. Don't fight your thoughts. Simply ignore them and instead focus. These are very powerful energy centers. And with practice, you will release more and more energy and you will go into higher and higher meditative states. So once again, sit down, don't eat too much first, relax, take a breath, and focus here. First 5 or 6 times you do it, put your hands here. After that, you won't need to. You'll find that you can just feel that spot and focus. Then after 5 minutes here, move up here. What you're doing is releasing ki and energy, and now it's going to flow to this area, and when you focus here, by itself, it will lift up to here, and you'll be bringing new energy in from this chakra of happiness. Suddenly you'll start to feel not just power, which you'll feel here, you'll start to smile, you'll feel good. Again, don't worry about your thoughts. Don't think, oh God, am I meditating right? Am I doing this right? I mean, you'll think those things. Don't let it distract you. Focus instead. Press here gently the first few times. Then go up to the third eye. Now here you may have some interesting experiences. This is the seat of ancient wisdom and knowledge of the Orient or wherever you happen to be from. Here you may see visions. You may see worlds of light, dimensions of perfection. Be neither attracted nor repulsed. It doesn't matter what you see, the good, the bad, the ugly, or anything else. Ignore it. Just keep focusing. Then at the very end of your meditation, stop focusing here, and stop focusing here, and just let go. Just sit there with your eyes closed and let go. When thoughts come in and out of your mind, just ignore them. Relax, and you'll find suddenly the world will go away, time and space will stop. At the end of meditation, we usually bow. It's an Eastern custom. I kind of like it. Just for a moment, we just kind of go like this. You don't have to. We just go like this just for a moment. And it's our way of saying thank you to the universe, of saying thank you for giving me this energy, this life, this world, this opportunity to feel something. And thank you. It's more important to meditate once a day for 15 minutes than every other day for 2 hours. It's doing it every day that gradually develops the power, the key. Gradually you will find that you will smile more, frown less, and if you just keep focusing, it sounds so simplistic, you will gradually still your mind and waves of light, peace, and ecstasy will flood you. You'll go above the plane of thought, yet you'll think more clearly when you need to. And most importantly, I think you will be making a decision to develop your mind. You are saying not no to this, that, or the other thing, but yes. You're saying, yes, I'm worth investing in. I want to develop my mind. I want to experience light. I want to experience happiness. I want to gain control of my existence. It's really that simple. If you do that, then the world will open to you. Believe in life. Believe in yourself. Doesn't matter what anybody else does. You're born alone and you die alone. The secret of life, well, I'm not going to tell you now. You have to figure that out. But I can tell you that you'll figure it out in the silence of your own mind when you've learned to stop thought. And what is nirvana? Nirvana is everything and nothing. But if I could have one central image for nirvana, it would be a plateau. Something that stretches out endlessly forever. It's an expanse. Life never stops. It never ends and it never begins. It has always been and it will always be. It's a vista that goes on forever. We think of ourselves as being separate. We're small, we're isolated, we're born, we die, and we feel separate and we feel alienated. But when you meditate in advanced meditation, what happens is this vista, which might at first seem kind of alienating, the world is so big and I'm so small, we become the vista itself. We merge with it. Suddenly your mind is the universe. Suddenly you are the vista. Suddenly you've gone beyond self, and there's no pain, and there's no sorrow, and there's no unhappiness, but there's joy, and there's ecstasy, and things I couldn't possibly put into words. Advanced meditation is nirvana. Nirvana is a Buddhist word. It may not mean much to you. But what it is to experience the brightness, the beauty, the wonderful disarray of perfect existence in every moment and beyond every moment. To be in time and space and beyond that at the same time. This is where advanced meditation takes you. It's a vista. It's a view that encompasses all things. It's beyond words. I have a PhD in English. I love language. I wouldn't even begin to try and describe it. But I know that if you follow the pathway to enlightenment, if you practice meditation, starting with our very simple bunny slope method of a few minutes here, a few minutes here, and a few minutes here, and gradually read books about it, learn about it, practice it more, go to power places, find the best teacher you can, myself or someone else. It doesn't really matter, whatever works. Eventually you'll get to advanced meditation. Advanced meditation is nirvana. You will go beyond anything that's painful, anything that's ugly. You will see and become eternity. You will become light itself. That is the goal of Buddhism. That is the goal of all yoga. And I personally believe that's the goal of life, is to become life itself. And life is indeed ecstasy. So I would encourage you to practice meditation and to follow the pathway to enlightenment. And above all, to take a first step, to make a choice, to live. It's about your ability to experience countless sides of life, beautiful sides of life. The fun with Tantra is that we don't just do it in the meditation hall. Yes, we do it in the meditation hall, of course. You come in, you sit in a classroom, I or another tantric teacher will teach you how to meditate. We'll meditate as hard as we can. And if we generate enough energy, you will actually be empowered by sitting with us. The energy transfers. If I go into Nirvikalpa Samadhi, if I close my eyes, stop thought, I can do it with my eyes open also, by the way. If I close my eyes, stop thought, an energy will come out of me because I can stop thought and go into another dimension. And whoever's in the room will be affected by it. It'll touch them. It'll empower them. It'll make their mind quiet for a moment. That's how we really teach people how to meditate. Then, when we learn how to do it in a meditation hall, we go outside and do it. So you can find a moment when you're just living your life. You're just sitting in the car, waiting for the light to change. And it's not changing, and you're in a rush, and you're late for an appointment, and you're having a bad hair day. I mean, just nothing is working out, and suddenly for a moment, because you've been meditating at home, the world will go away. Time will stop. Your mind will become clear, and yes, you'll be there, and yes, of course you'll know when the light turns green, and you'll look both ways before going forward. But for a moment, you will be in another universe. Maybe 1,000 universes simultaneously. That's what Tantra is about. Tantra means taking the experience of meditation that normally is reserved for sitting with your legs folded and your eyes closed out into the world. Let me give you an example. I'm in the music business, do all kinds of music for television shows, music for films. I also do rock and roll. Now, some people would find it very difficult to understand how a person who practices Buddhism can be involved with rock and roll. They seem like two opposite things. Rock and roll is supposed to be heavy, dark, sensual, and Buddhism is supposed to be, I don't know, something that just happens up in the Himalayas, where the light is beautiful and we walk around and we just, look at flowers, or we're in Japan in a Zen garden or something like that. But when I get involved in music and I get involved in rock and roll, if I can meditate, if I can hold my mind in a meditative state, then when I perform, when I compose, or when I dance, then, well, what do I have? I have Tantra. I have cross currents of life coming together, and my life is art. I'm in a meditative state. I'm beyond thought, I'm beyond time, space, yet here I am right in the middle of it, experiencing multidimensional reality. The essence of Tantra is that there's nothing wrong with women. There's nothing wrong with sexuality. There's nothing wrong with technology. There's something right with meditation. And to limit meditation and restrict it to the Zen garden, to restrict it to the Himalayan monastery, to restrict it in any way is not what meditation is about. So what I'm doing is taking ancient, traditional methods of meditation that work, that lead to enlightenment, and incorporating them with my students in very Western settings, in very Eastern settings, because the East today is a world of computer technology also. In other words, it really doesn't matter what the form is. The essence is what matters. Don't judge a book by its cover. My experience as a Buddhist monk is that meditation makes everything I do wonderful, excessively so. I still feel pain, I still feel pleasure, but I feel ecstasy, and I'm the happiest person I've ever met in my life. And I'm creative, and I'm in love with music, and I'm in love with women, I'm in love with teaching, and I experience nirvana. I can go into states of exalted consciousness that you can't even imagine. You can't even imagine. And I do that here, now, in this world, in the 20th century, and I'll do it in the 21st century, and forever. Because that's what enlightenment is about. Enlightenment is about being real, being still, being centered, but not running away from life, not running away from the world, not running away from anything, but facing things, a little at a time, as you gain more courage and confidence from meditation. So if you were to say to me, Rama, what's Tantric Buddhism about? I would say Tantric Buddhism is being yourself, meditating and not adopting some kind of artificial lifestyle, learning to meditate, learning to respect others, and then taking whatever fascinates you and excites you about life and taking the energy of meditation, the brightness, the beauty, these new states of mind and powers that you'll gain from meditating, and putting it into your life, into your work, into your play, into whatever you do. That's what I do. There is a secret, of course. I mean, naturally, you would expect a secret. I mean, this is all about secrets, and I can't tell you most of them, because you have to be telepathic to understand. Almost all real tantric teaching is taught through telepathy, and the gateway to telepathy is meditation. It's not that it's a secret, it's not that I don't want to tell you, but if you're not telepathic, you don't know. So the secret, I suppose, is learning to stop thought, learning to practice meditation on the chakras, and learning to stop running away and to put a smile on your face instead of a frown, and to get control of your mind. Then you'll become telepathic. Then if you come and see myself, or if you go see another Buddhist master, someone who's enlightened, then through telepathy we will teach you all kinds of things that we've learned. Maybe you'll teach us something too. Tantric Buddhism is the highest form of self-discovery. It is the graduate school of self-discovery. I practice it. I teach it. And I learn something new about it every day, because there's no end to enlightenment, there's no end to bliss, there's no end to ecstasy, and there's certainly no end to nirvana, and none of us can ever know it all. That's the good part. We learn something new and we're experiencing something new at every moment. But it all bases around meditation, being still, being silent, and, don't fake it, do it. Now, I went to the Far East. I went to the Himalayas when I was a teenager. And I went over there to surf the Himalayas. I thought this would be a great thing because I had gotten into it and surfed most of the bigger mountains in the United States and Canada. And at this point, this wasn't a very popular sport. Today, of course, it's quite macho and you see people doing wonderful jumps. It was kind of new. There weren't really good boards, but anyway, I was excited. I went to the Himalayas. So I met a Buddhist monk, quite unintentionally. Actually, I was coming down one of the Himalayas. I was snowboarding, and I hit him. I ran into him. I surfed a Buddhist monk. And I didn't hurt him, fortunately. It was sort of at the end of the run. And he just came out of nowhere, and I just banged into him. And he got up and brushed himself off, and I brushed myself off. And I didn't think he spoke any English at all. This was in Nepal. So I figured an apology of some kind was better than none, so I went over in English and I said, yeah, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to surf you, this kind of thing. I felt bad because this was some kind of a religious holy person and I was this, kind of dumb, gangly American teenager who wanted to surf the Himalayas because it seemed like a good thing to do at the time. So he looked me in the eyes and he said that our destiny was to meet, and that he had been told by his teacher a long time ago that he was going to meet this Western youth coming down a mountain. He didn't say how. And that we were going to meet, and that he was destined to teach me about Tantric Buddhism, which in fact he did. And that's another story for another time. But he taught me something. Now, I said to myself, well, I'm not interested in this Buddhist stuff. I came over here to surf the Himalayas. I want to just find the hardest, craziest mountain. I think I was partially suicidal. And I just want to go down it on this board, I mean, the harder the better. I was looking for death, I guess, or an ultimate rush. And I assumed this guy didn't know anything about snowboarding. He's some Buddhist monk, and he does the beads, and he prays, and, I just happened to run into him. And he said, I can teach you to do that better. He said, I can teach you to do that better. I can show you how to come down better, but you've got to learn how to meditate. And I said, you're kidding. And he said, come tomorrow to my monastery. And he told me where it was. It was in the outskirts of Nepal. So I went. And he taught me how to meditate. He gave me my first instructions in meditation. And then he began to explain how to do anything perfectly. He called it Tantric Buddhism. And it's what I'm trying to talk to you about, but I can't talk to you about it because you have to show it to somebody. Here I am. I'm Tantric Buddhism. I've surfed some of the greatest mountains there are. I've fallen down a lot too. He said this to me. He said, you have to understand, if you want to perfect anything in life, you must become the thing you seek to perfect. He said, you are the board. I said, what do you mean? I'm the board. I'm the guy who's standing on the board going down the mountain. He said, no. That's only in your mind. You've created a separation in your ideas, in your thoughts, in your whole way you look at life. You think you and that board are different. You are the board. When you see that you are the board, then you will not have to think about how you snowboard. You won't have to think about how you do anything. Your body and the board will become one. Your energy fields will merge, and you will snowboard better than you ever have. And he said, you can do this with anything. So I practiced. I tried, and at first, I have to be honest, I didn't have much success because I was thinking, I am the board, and I'd fall off the board, and I was doing better without it. But I went back to his monastery, and he taught me more about meditation, about the philosophy of reincarnation, all kinds of wonderful things. He taught me how to meditate. And then he taught me how to make my mind quiet. And I got on that snowboard, and I went down mountains that I thought I could never go down because I became part of the board. In other words, I listened to it. I didn't tell it what to do. I became part of it. I came back to the West. I went to college. I became a straight-A student, graduate school, honors, fellowships, Phi Beta Kappa. I became enlightened. I've done all kinds of things because I've learned the secret. The secret is to become one with something. And you can only do that when you meditate. When you get past your thoughts, when you get past your ideas, when you forget about who you are and who everybody else is, there's another part of us, a hidden secret part. I can't explain it to you, but it's part of you, and it's part of me, and it's part of all things. Tantric Buddhism is about learning about that part of yourself and allowing it to merge with things, to become things, to know things on what we call the other side, in other dimensions. So now, when I write a piece of software, when I write music, whatever I do, I allow my awareness field, which through years of disciplined meditation has become very lucid, to become part of something. I become a thing. I extend myself beyond myself. That's what Tantric Buddhism is really all about. And if it's enlightenment, you have to become it, if that's your interest. If it's being a film star, you have to become it. If you want to be an Olympic athlete, you have to become with it. You have to get beyond your mental limitations. And this can be done by learning to still your mind, by going beyond the concepts that say, this is what a man is, this is what a woman is, this is what life is, this is what death is. You know, we're all so smart. We're all so technological. We've got science. But most people don't even know what happens when they die. They don't even know where they came from before they were born. They make things up to make themselves feel better. I know, because I've studied Tantric Buddhism. I know that the mind is infinite. It's omnipresent. And that we are part of a larger mind, an infinite mind. And that's the mind of eternity. And it's not a male mind, and it's not a female mind. It's pure mind, and it's beyond understanding. Some of us are lucky. We get to merge with it, become different parts of it, experience it. That's what Tantric Buddhism is. I don't snowboard anymore. I'm 43. I don't think I would roll as well. I do other things now, but I use the same principle that Buddhist monk taught me. And of course, I studied with many other teachers. I become things. I allow myself to be a beginner. I allow myself to go past my limitations, my fears, my desires. I stop my thoughts. Right now, I'm not thinking. There's no thought in my mind whatsoever. No thought, no image, absolute, perfect clarity. Look at my eyes. No thought. My awareness field can stretch out into infinity. It can merge with anything. That doesn't mean I'm special. It just means that I'm happy. Because beyond this thin veil of cosmic reality that you call life, there's endless ecstasy. And you can merge with that. And once you've done that, then you can play with anything. You can play with snowboarding, you can play with career, you can play with relationships, you can play with anything you want. There's no end to learning. There's no end to life. There's no end to ecstasy. But if you block yourself up inside your body and mind and your fears and your personality and your vanity and your ego, we all have that, of course, but if you let it rule you, then you won't be happy. You won't feel that ecstasy, and you won't become one with whatever there is to become one with. The universe, infinity, beauty, ecstasy. For me, it was snowboarding at one age. It's making great videos tonight. Tomorrow, who knows what it'll be. I think it's flying to California. I think I have a seminar there tomorrow night. And I have to become one with my students. I have to teach them how to do all this. But I know a secret. I can make my mind quiet because I've stood on top of a mountain and done it and become one with the board, and I let the board and the mountain teach me. So isn't that what life is really all about? Letting life teach us? Are we really so smart? Emptiness means learning. It means opening yourself up to life, allowing it to teach you, not just in the formations that human beings have come up with. I mean, they're still killing each other in wars. I mean, how smart could this race be? There is an alternative. That's to learn from life, from the flow of the Tao, from nirvana, to still your thoughts, to put a smile on your face, and to study ancient wisdom. You are the board. That's what he told me. And you know, he was right. And now I can become anything, and always will, because I then aimed that at enlightenment. And enlightenment is endless, perfect, celestial, wonderful, and available to everybody. Tantric Buddhism is the study of becoming one with things. Hi, I'm back again. I'd like to introduce you to a friend of mine, Padmasambhava. I don't know where he is right now. He's in one incarnation or another. For some reason, I don't think he's on this planet anymore. In any case, he is the most famous teacher of Tantric Buddhist meditation. He really brought Tantricism to Tibet. And what he did was what Bodhidharma did a little while before. He said, Bodhidharma said, that Buddhism had gotten cluttered up. Buddha's point was this: we don't need ritual. What we need is meditation. It's good to hear about other people's experiences. They're inspiring. But what we need are our own experiences. What you need to be able to do is sit down, meditate, and experience eternity, immortality. You need to be able to rid yourself of hate, of violence, jealousy, greed, and replace it with ecstasy beyond comprehension. It's great to read. I love reading. It's fun to read about other people who do these things. But finally, what Buddhism is about is not about reading the adventures of someone else. It's about your adventure. It's about you becoming Padmasambhava, you experiencing nirvana, you experiencing enlightenment. So the essence of all practice is meditation. When you meditate, you're making your mind still. You can read all the Buddhist texts in the world, it won't make your mind still. You can listen to knowledgeable people speak, you won't experience any enlightenment. What you do need to do is to meditate. And that's what Padmasambhava said. And it made him very unpopular. He had to leave Tibet for a while, as a matter of fact. He was chased out of the country, essentially. And he had to beat feet, lay low for a while till things cooled down and come back, and then he taught again. That happens because people didn't want to hear it. There was a hierarchy. There was a change of venue. Suddenly, all the fat cats who were teaching religious doctrine that they called Buddhism or this, that, or the other thing were going to be out of a job, because if you can sit at home and do this yourself, and you don't have to have all the monasteries and all the temples, you can just sit in, close your eyes, and meditate and become immortality and infinity. Well, I guess we don't need all the pomp and circumstance. Now, mind you, I like a certain amount of ritual. I like a certain amount of pomp and circumstance, and rules are very good for beginners. But the point of the rules and the point of the pomp and circumstance is to get you to be absorbed in nirvana. So the question is, what is nirvana? Nirvana is enlightenment. And the tantric view of enlightenment, the real one in other words, the most advanced one, the graduate school, is that samsara is nirvana. That is to say that the physical world is not bad. Money isn't bad. Sex isn't bad. There's no such thing. There's only nirvana. It comes in different shades, forms, and colors. In the beginning, sometimes we have to get away from something because we're so used to seeing it in the same way that we can't see it as it really is. What we call its emptiness, its essential nature. But as our view advances, as we grow on the pathway to enlightenment, we have to see that nirvana exists in everything. Nirvana is all that there is. All is one and one is all. This is not an easy thing to do. Many people become quite accomplished in meditation. They learn the disciplines, and then they get stuck in them. It's the funniest thing, and they don't become enlightened. So in Tantric Buddhism, what we do is, of course, we center on meditation. We become very good meditators. And then what we do is we go against the prohibitions. That is to say, because we meditate well, because we develop our attention field to experience multidimensional reality, we can now exist in the 20th and 21st century and any century that follows. And we don't have to run away to a mountain. We don't have to go to the monastery. It might be fun to visit one. It might be nice to go to Hawaii and sit in a nice clean place and feel what it's like to meditate. But we can work in the world. We can drive a car, maybe fly a jet plane, maybe travel as an astronaut, and we can practice meditation and become enlightened. Enlightenment is not something that happens because you shave your head and put on an ochre robe. Enlightenment is something that happens because you meditate. You can wear leather, you can wear a tuxedo, you can wear an ochre robe, whatever makes you happy. What matters is that you can stop thought, overcome hate, and experience the infinite levels of reality that we call life. The joie de vivre, the beauty of existence, is what the Buddhist experience is about. I know there are many places that they teach something called Buddhism, and it's not Buddhism. It's a bunch of old guys sitting around being stoical and not being enlightened. That's not Buddhism as I know it. If you are really wise, then you're happy. If you're happy, you smile, and you treat all people with respect, not just when everyone's watching, but when you're in a restaurant and someone's waiting on you, you treat them with respect. You treat people who treat you with disrespect with respect because you see that all of life is holy, all of life is enlightenment. I observe a person's spiritual progression by, of course, how long they can stop thought and enter into Nirvikalpa Samadhi. But I also very much view it not by the externals, not by the exterior, but by how you treat the people around you, the people you meet on the street. If you have to run away from life, I don't think you're practicing good meditation. On the other hand, if you meditate, accept the circumstances of your life, and gradually transform them, if this Buddhist thing really works, you should be able to live in a contemporary society, visit the monastery, visit the woods, do whatever you want. You should be able to have a sexual relationship or be celibate. You should be able to be the richest person on earth or the poorest. What's the difference? If nirvana is everything, if it's in everything, then there's nothing that isn't holy. Yes, there are things that if we engage in them will lower our attention field, lower our energy, we'll drop into lower states of consciousness and become filled with hate, anger, jealousy, and violence. Obviously, that's not good. So we learn to control our energy. But that control of energy can come in a career. It can come through the practice of martial arts. It can come in painting. It can come in music. It can come in meditation. It's not what we do, it's who we are ultimately. What really matters in the final analysis is what you feel. There's a book written by one of my favorite authors, Saint-Exupéry, and it's The Little Prince. And in it, he says something that I think sums up the essence of all Buddhism. It is only with the heart that one sees rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. And from my point of view, that's what Buddhism is really all about. That's what the experience of enlightenment is about. Tantricism is simply a more advanced view. We've already done the basics. Now we're going to see that we can take this meditation experience into any part of life, into a relationship, into work, into anything, into a rock video, into gardening, into a monastery. What's the difference? It's not about externals, it's about internals. If you can stop your thought, if you can love and not hate, if you can be kind, if you can endure pain even when it's difficult with a smile, I think then that you're at the heart of living and the heart of life. What I'm going to illustrate is they're going to come at me as a group. I'm going to send out a wave of energy designed to momentarily disable them mentally. Then if I wanted to, of course, I could kick I could punch, I could run, whatever is the most intelligent thing to do. What I want to do is interfere with their minds. The mind is the ultimate weapon. If I can interfere and incapacitate a mind for a moment without touching it, then, of course, I can get physically involved or get away. So they're going to come at me, and I'm just going to project a wave of energy out of my body to disable them, right? Good. Okay, come at me. Come. Say! This is not an act. Love it, don't you? Try it again. They're going to come at me to get me, right? Come on. Come on. Come. Say! You notice they look drunken for a moment? They think you're acting. Are you acting? No. Can you come at me? Can you keep going at that moment? One more time. Come at me. Come. Say! For a moment, a wave of energy sweeps through their body, and they don't know where they are, what world they're in, what dimension they're in. At that moment, of course, you can dislocate them all, or you can get away. Pure key. Good. Excellent. Today our topic is enlightenment. Enlightenment is our topic every day. What is enlightenment? Enlightenment is the complete awareness of life without mental modifications. Now that's a mouthful. Enlightenment is life. It's the complete experience of it in a very pure and pristine form, in the form of the highest light. Within everything, within all things, is nirvana. Nirvana is the awareness of existence without any modifications of the mind. That is to say, that within us and all things, there's a central nexus, a point of experience that is ever present, ever new, and very wise. And that's the mind of the universe, life itself. The universe is within us, and it's within all things. Yet we see life as formations, as patterns, aggregates we call it in Tibet. The universe is made up of forms that we call people, plants, animals, worlds, universes, dimensions, experiences, patterns, the patterns of life. Where do these patterns come from? Where do they go to? What makes them? What sustains them? What transforms them? The central nexus, the center point, the still point in the middle of the turning universes is the universe itself. The universe makes itself, presents itself to itself through itself, and at the same time is removed from itself. The core of life is light, an intelligent light that we call nirvana. Through the practice of meditation, you can become aware not only of this world in new and deeper ways, but you can become aware of countless dimensions. The dimensions go on forever. They never begin and they never end, just as you go on forever, since you're part of those dimensions and they're part of you. Within us is infinity, eternity, not just figuratively, but within our mind, there are matching patterns for everything in life. So enlightenment is the experience of light. It's the experience of the perfection, of the brilliance, of the radiant knowledge that is life itself. At the same time, enlightenment is pattern matching. It's when things come together. It's when things separate. It's when things form new patterns. You know, they say that no two snowflakes are exactly alike. I haven't checked personally, but I take certain things on faith. Well, no two moments in life are exactly like. They're different. And sometimes moments can join. They move in and out of each other. This is one moment. This is another moment. Moments come and go. They shift. They change. So while enlightenment is entering into a deep state of meditation and becoming conscious of everything, of the whole universe, in its essence, in its stillness, in its peace and perfection, at the same time, enlightenment is pattern matching, pattern recognition. That is to say, it's becoming aware of the many, many facets of existence and how they interact with each other. Now, some things are difficult to understand, I think, for everyone. So, for example, it's hard to understand why we're alive, why there's suffering, why there's joy. Why does life end? Why does it begin? Why do we live just to die? These are the eternal questions. I understand these questions. I've had them. They recur from one life to another. The answer is in enlightenment. People can make things up, philosophies that are striking, that give reason to things, but that doesn't mean it's true. If you want to know why you are, what all of this is, then you must become enlightened. That is to say, you must experience the mind of the universe and have that mind be your mind. I could use a computer analogy, why not? I'm in the computer business. If you have a workstation, a terminal, a small little computer, and it only has a certain amount of computing power, you can do certain tasks, and there's certain things you can't do. But if you take your little tiny computer, and if you hook it into a mainframe, or let alone a supercomputer, suddenly the little terminal that you had, its power is amplified thousands and millions of times because it's patched into a supercomputer. So in the same sense, your mind at the moment is separate from the universe, at least in appearance. That is to say, the amount of computing power that you have is somewhat limited. You know or sense what it is. As you meditate, as you progress along the pathway to enlightenment, you enter new stages of consciousness and new states of awareness. And you begin to access more memory, whether it's past life memory or memory as understanding of life. You begin to experience different dimensions. Life is perfect. Every moment is perfect. And yet there are incongruities. That's the pattern matching. There is the pain, there's the agony, there's the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, there's the death of someone you love. There are things that don't make sense: war, disease, AIDS, famine, oppression. And someone would say, well, why would a God of love create AIDS? Why would a God of love create death? Why? Well, there isn't a simple answer. Or there is an answer, and that's life. There's the surface of life in which there is pain and transient experience. That's what we go through in a lifetime. I understand. There's the surface of life and the moments that we have that pass through our fingers and are gone. That's experience. Then there's something else on the other side of that experience. Life is a dream. Beyond the surface of life, beyond the physical experiences that we go through every day, beyond an incarnation, what you call this lifetime that you're now in, there's something else, and that's nirvana, enlightenment. It goes on forever. And this life that we have, whether it's beautiful or horrible, painful, pleasurable, or a mixture of both, this lifetime that we have and are currently experiencing is a dream relative to the reality of the universe. Now, if you like this dream, if this dream is enough for you right now, there's absolutely no reason to wake up. There's no reason to become enlightened. There's no reason to go beyond. Just enjoy the dream that you're in, because the dream is real. It's part of life. Everything that life makes has a reality to it. But some things are more real than others. Some things last longer than other things do. And this life, this moment, this pleasure that you're experiencing at the moment, this pain, this joy, this ecstasy, this boredom, all these things are very transient. They don't last very long, do they? Look at all the years that you've had. Where have they gone? All the years that you're going to have, where are they coming from? This is the mystery of life, the riddle of existence. What is the riddle of life? How can all this be and yet not be? Enlightenment is an awareness of emptiness. That is to say, enlightenment means you take your mind and you merge it with what in Tibet we call the clear light of reality, the Dharmakaya, the essential light, the essential matrix out of which all things come. Doing that places you in the center of the circle, and at the same time on the perimeter, and at the same time no place at all. Doesn't make much sense logically. You experience reality in all of its stages and formations. Enlightenment means wisdom. It means that you've gone beyond yourself and your own experiences, and you've experienced the mind of the universe and do again and again, forever, in all of its ever-changing aspects. And yet at the same time, you go into its center, into its light, into its perfection, into its perfect radiant beauty. And you merge with it and you dissolve. You dissolve the essence of who and what you are into that light. You go into the light until there's only the light. What happens then? Well, you have to check it out. You have to have the experience, I guess. And if you meditate and you follow the pathway to enlightenment, you'll have that experience not once but over and over. You go into the light. You enter into perfect consciousness, and it's powerful. And it changes you. It burns. It burns away all the obscurations, all the karmas, all the samskaras, whether it's the tendencies from this life or from other lives. If you keep going into the clear light of reality in what we call Nirvikalpa Samadhi, it's the highest stage of meditation. If you keep going into the clear light of reality, then there's only that light. Personality goes away, time goes away, life goes away, space, death, birth, everything goes away. And there's only perfect light. A light that's so vast and so all-encompassing that it doesn't even conceive of itself as light. There's no sense of self, there's no sense of other, there's no sense of sense. And yet there is existence, consciousness, and bliss. Sat, Chit, Ananda. Those are the Sanskrit words for existence, consciousness, and bliss. I'm a teacher of enlightenment. That is to say, I'm enlightened, and I enjoy being a vehicle of the expressions of the universe. I like to teach people about the play of existence. It's something that I became interested in a long, long time ago, long before this lifetime. I've studied with many, many great masters for many, many incarnations and learned things, secrets about life, about its beauty, about its many sides. I don't think I've drawn any conclusions. I just know how to meditate perfectly and go into that light. And I instruct people who seem to have an inclination for that, who like beautiful sunsets and sunrises, who like the vividness of existence. Such people follow the pathway to enlightenment. They seek perfection. Who knows why? The very experience of life is ecstasy. When you open your mind deeply through the practice of meditation, when you clear out the hate, the anxiety, the anger, the frustration, when you gain control of the mind and direct it towards the highest light, at that point, everything's perfect. The experiences of this world fade, and there's only endless existence. So enlightenment is not something that we experience in some afterlife. It's here now and forever. And yet, even though it's inside of us and makes up all things, we don't really know it. Well, we're back to that riddle of existence again. What is life? Life is enlightenment, but we don't know that consciously. So it may be your karma to be drawn on the pathway to enlightenment, as it was mine. That is to say, to become consciously aware through the practice of meditation of the infiniteness of existence, if it is you're ever so fortunate. Because while everyone else is in the movie theater of life, looking at the screen, being terrified by what's on the screen, or smiling or crying at the happy or sad ending, you can enjoy what's in the movie, but at the same time you remember that it's a film, it's a movie. You can see beyond the surface, and beyond the surface, it's fantastically beautiful. The waves of light, the formations of light of nirvana, stretch on endlessly. They never begin and never end. And their patterns change continually and move and flow. Just to observe the universe at work, to merge your mind with it, to become one with it, and to become those patterns, and even to go beyond them, is ecstasy. Nothing can be compared to that. It is the highest of all things, the best of all things. That which is most perfect is enlightenment. Enlightenment exists, whether you're conscious of it or not. And I can assure you, as an enlightened teacher of Buddhist meditation, that there is nothing to fear, that there's only perfection and light behind everything and inside of everything. And if you don't see that yet, perhaps one day you will. And if you'd like to see that and experience that, then you should learn to meditate, and you should learn to love and not hate, and to have a little control, and to not see yourself as that which is all important, but to see life as that which is all important. Get beyond yourself and grow up, will you? What's the matter with you? You're a slacker. What are you doing with your life? You just experiencing it? Kind of dull, isn't it? There are other options on the menu of life. Perception of planes of power, dimensions of ecstasy, worlds of radiant light beyond comprehension. Or you can watch TV, whatever makes you happy. Because you know, no one's judging. No one's in the sky with a big card marking down whether you were right or wrong today. I think life is much more complex and much more beautiful than that. That's an interesting human invention. But life is endless. It's made up of light. And it goes on forever. And no human being's observations of it or judgments of it will ever change its character. But I suppose if I have a message for the world, for the people of the world, it's chill out. Just chill out. Stop all this silly violence and hate and oppression. You're missing a really good moment. And you'll die, and that's that, and you'll be reborn. But you're missing a great moment. And it's the moment of your life today. And you know, when you hate, and you're all screwed up, and you're angry, and you're egotistical, and you're macho competitive, you're just some little chicken. You're just afraid. You're afraid to deal with life. So you hide in your humanness, you hide in your humanity, and that's okay too, because that's another part of enlightenment. Every aspect of consciousness, every plane of being, every emotion, what you call both good and evil, I don't know, it varies from person to person. Everything is part of God. God is all things. Atman is Brahman. And that's how it is, and that's how it's always been. So enlightenment is the perception of pure perfection. We forget that sometimes. We get angry, we get frustrated, we get bent out of shape. But that's enlightenment too. Isn't it strange? And then enlightenment is this: the experience of perfect light in meditation. And yet it's daily life, happiness, unhappiness, and things that aren't even in this world. If you're interested in these things, meditate, follow your heart, be still, be conscious. And always be positive, because beyond this transient surface of life, there's endless light, endless consciousness, and endless goodness. Existence ultimately is good. What else could it possibly be? What else could it possibly be? Existence is perfection. In its own ultimate kindness, it creates all of this. All of these worlds, all of these beings, all of these forms, all of these aggregates and patterns it creates out of itself. It makes you and I and the flowers and the death that takes these things and the new life that brings them back. It's a mystery. So aim yourself at the highest. Look to that which is most beautiful for you. Experience the moments of your life in brightness. I guess if I have a message, that's it. Have a good time. Enjoy the show. Eat some popcorn, but watch out for the butter because it's got cholesterol. That's the wisdom of the enlightened. Have a good time with your life. And when it's not fun and it's painful beyond comprehension, withdraw into the stillness of your mind and look into life, into the depths of the universe, and you'll discover that there's only perfection, and that pain will go away. That frustration will go away, that rage will go away, and you will see that life is perfect again. Thank you.